Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. I realized that it's been a few weeks since I've uploaded another podcast episode, so I just wanted to hop on here and, make another video. As I'm making these videos for my channel and for the people that are listening to me, I'm assuming that they know the context, and I'm sort of assuming that the terms that I use or the roles that I talk about are for the most part understood by you guys as the audience. So I was like, maybe there's some people that are watching this that have absolutely no clue what I do. They absolutely don't know camera at all. So that's what today's episode is going to be about. It's basically going to be who's who in the camera department. This video is primarily going to be for people who I would say are absolutely brand new and they know they like camera, but they don't quite know where they fit in the ladder. And it's also for the producers who are looking to hire camera crew and they want to figure out, okay, how can we make the team run as effectively as possible and as efficiently as possible? And we need to hire a crew that is essential to the team, and what crew is still part of the umbrella of camera department but is more like an additional support. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to start off with the very top of the list, which is the director of photography. Director of photography, also known as a cinematographer. Most commonly in film and in camera teams, you would just say the DP. I might have even said that in videos before, or you'll hear other people when you start working on set being like, oh, that's the DP, or this person's going to DP that project. Essentially what they're saying is that is the main person who is going to take the director's vision and the script and translate that visually. The main person that's in charge of the look of the film or of the TV show, they are the main person that's also in charge of how the lighting would look. So they're kind of managing two departments at once. The DP is also balancing, yes, the creative vision, but there's so much more than the credit at the end of the film that says shot by XYZ. It's like the DP is often required sometimes months in advance to come in and prep for a project, which, includes anything from shot listing with the director, breaking down the script, to figuring out, okay, what kind of lens do I even want for a film like this? Breaking down the script, having enough time to read the script, and have enough communication with the director sometimes to be like, okay, we're on the same page with how you want me to translate this concept for you. The DP is the one that's holding the vision. The camera operator would be the one that executes that frame by frame. And sometimes on union sets, I have seen where occasionally you would have a DP who also camera operates at times, they wouldn't stay at Video Village watching the monitors. They would actually come in and be like, let me take the camera and let me be the one that's composing the frame and composing the shot. So that can also happen, but traditionally, because we're talking about union and we're talking about the structure of the camera department, you would have the DP, and then the next person in line would be the camera operator. In my opinion, I really do think camera operating is so much more than just setting up the frame. There's a lot of people skills that a good operator needs to have. I find in my experiences when I have been on set and I've noticed operators, you can spot a bad operator right away and you can spot a good operator right away, because those are often the ones that when they're, delegating things to other departments or even to their own assistants, that's when these people skills kind of show themselves. Camera operators are very key in terms of setting the tone of how the department functions, because yes, you'll have the DP who's the head of the department, but sometimes the DP on set will just turn to their operators and be like, I want A camera to set up the wide, I want B camera to grab this bit, I want C camera in the corner to grab that exit. And then it's up to the operators to execute that and to delegate how to get that to the rest of their team. So in those moments, it's really down to how you interact and your people skills. And not everyone is, let's just say, good in that area. I've seen operators who are extremely great, very kind. Even in high tense and stressful situations, they know, okay, yes, everything's changing, everything's chaotic, but I know how to filter that out and only focus on what needs to get done and then tell that to my team. And then on the contrary, I've also seen operators who are very, very underprepared and they, sit at home for like a whole year, and then all of a sudden it's like you get hired onto a show where the DP is like, yeah, I want all 3 cameras to do handheld. And then it's like, okay, well, A, you're not physically prepared because that's a lot of physical strength and stamina that's required for you to get that job done. People panic in those moments and they're like, well, I'm not really prepared for this, and I need this thing, and I need that tool, and I need that bit, and I need that kind of vest. And then they, how do I say this like politely? They almost make it the rest of the team's responsibility to cover that for them because they're underprepared. And that's not how it should be. And obviously this is just my opinion, but I really do think that the camera operator, it's not just about the title. And people get caught up in the title of like, I want to be an operator because yeah, it looks great on paper. But there's so much more to that, and it's a lot about your mental strength, it's a lot about your physical strength, and it's about your communication skills, like I just mentioned as well, right? So we have to keep that in mind. So that's something that I've noticed, and I wanted to share that a little bit because it's just not a good look, if you get hired for that role and then imagine that you are like, yeah, I can do that, and then on the day, you're clearly struggling. So we don't want to be like that. Come prepared. Know what the role brings, know what kinds of things you might be required to do in that role. For instance, operators are not just all about sitting at the dolly and, moving the fluid head, like panning it left and right. You could be a Steadicam operator, and with Steadicam, there's a bunch of other training that's required. There's a bunch of other gear that you're required to know and to use. You could be required to jump on a crane and use a remote head. There's all of these different variables that come into play when you're working on a professional set. So it's very important to know that. Now, the next person after camera operator is often the first AC or the focus puller. And quite literally, the focus puller is somebody who keeps the shot in focus. This is probably one of the toughest jobs on set because it looks easy, and all of the people that you've seen pull focus make it look easy because they're so extremely talented at their jobs. But it is a very technical, very serious kind of a role. You're required to know distances, you're constantly doing math in your head, you're the main person that is building the cameras for the operator. And then on top of that, you're troubleshooting every day, right? If there's a technical error or if there's something that happens that you need to be the one that's like quickly problem solving on set. So there's that aspect. And then the first AC is also the head of the department on set. So what that means is if you're working on a show that is, A camera, B camera, C camera, it's a multi-camera show, the A camera focus puller is often the head of the department. Think about it like this. The first AC is often like the technical brain of the team. You could be required to go from, building camera to go handheld, to then switching to studio mode, to then switching to Steadicam, to then switching to a Rialto or a backpack rig. And you as the focus puller have to be the one that knows how to do that in the most sort of convenient way as possible for the operator. And that's a hard thing. Like if you really think about it, that's a pretty high stake kind of a job, because that means you are required to know the camera inside and out. You are often required to know the lenses inside and out. You are often I can say this for sure, you're required to know every other toy that, people would bring to set. You probably would need to know if an operator has their personal gear or personal specific type of tool that they use. You would need to know that and need to know when that comes into play. So it's a very, very quick thinking kind of a job. It's a very fast-paced job. It's also one of the jobs that's the most easiest to get fired from, because when you're looking at the monitors, you're not necessarily looking at, oh, that actor didn't hit their mark, or they kind of said their line wrong. You're noticing if the frame is sharp or not. You're noticing, okay, that was so out of focus, especially for directors and DPs when they're sitting behind the really giant monitors and everything is super crystal clear. So now we're going to move on to the second AC, which is next after focus puller, and that is also what I do on set, by the way, in case you didn't know. I'm a second AC. And the second AC is essentially the person that is the hub of organization. The way that I would describe this role is you're somebody that's keeping everything organized and you are assisting your focus puller. It can be anything from assisting them with helping with whatever they need during the prep stages to assisting them on set with different builds that might require two people. Oftentimes if you're working with, for example, the Sony Venice cameras, there's a mode called the Rialto mode, which needs more than one person. And if you and your focus puller have a good rapport and you've worked together enough and that trust factor is built, the first and the second AC would work together to do that on set, so helping with things like that. Or if your focus puller is doing a lens change, you're grabbing the lens for them and you're helping with that. You are also on union sets having a trainee on set, so a second AC would also be training the trainee on set about their role, because that's eventually what the trainee would upgrade to. And then on the floor, like when you're on set, your job as a second would be slating every shot, marking the actors, watching crew blocking. You would be in charge of, making sure that things are running smoothly. You would also be working closely with the grips. You would be working closely with the sound department, filling out camera reports, constantly checking in with the script supervisor about what's next, or confirming the slate if there's a VFX or if there's a special name that they want to call that shot. So all these little things are grouped into the role of a second AC. I also think a second AC is the most visible person on set, apart from the camera operator who's right there with the camera in front of the actor. The second AC is right there slating in front of the actor before the take. So that's where your visibility really, really starts. And if you're a good second, your professionalism and your etiquette and how you move on set also shows. And it's also key. And sometimes when you're working on sets, you might not need a second. For instance, when you're working on commercials, it's often, the DP who is also the camera operator, or it's just a DP camera operator and a focus puller, because the focus puller can, slate and then pull focus, and they don't really need that additional person. But when you can have a whole team and a full team, then a second AC is very important to the role. They can also help with the back end of things, communicating with transport department if you need a pickup, or if you need to do a drop off, or, there's a last minute thing and the DP's like, we want to use this lens, can somebody get that for me? The second AC would be like, yeah. Then they would make that call. They would talk to who they need to talk to at the rental house and then make that happen. So the second AC, as much as they handle stuff on the floor and on set, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind and in the almost like administration side that a second AC also is in charge of. They also are the ones that typically would do the timesheets and the, in and out times, and making sure everybody gets their pay as accurately as possible. And the next position I want to talk about is the camera utility and the trainee. This is often where you would start off first. Even if you are a trainee and you upgrade, I think traditionally you would see most trainees often get hired as a daily utility in the initial stages before they get their first long-term second AC show. As a utility and as a trainee, you're, running cables, you are making sure all the batteries are charged. Each camera team has enough batteries for all of the things that they need. You're making sure that the carts are cleaned and organized. You're also often labeling things. You're sometimes even running just coffees every day for the camera department or the DP. Or if it's a hot sunny day and you're the utility on that set, your job might just be as simple as making sure everybody stays hydrated. Sometimes these little things equally go a long way, and people ultimately do remember that as well. So if you're a utility or a trainee and you feel like, oh man, like I didn't really get to do stuff on set, all I did was like clean carts, or all I did was, make labels for monitor tags all day and just give the DP the coffees that they wanted, you actually did a good job, I would say, and they will remember that. The DP or the team or whoever hired you will be like, yeah, you came through as a team player and you did a good job. So just remember that, and yeah, just remember that. I just wanted to take a quick minute to say, when I started out as a trainee, I was often the one that was setting up the director's video village or the courtesy monitors for the producers or the hair and makeup. Now what I've noticed is that there are video coordinators and video assists on majority of the sets, when you can get them, and they are the ones that handle all of that stuff. They're not technically part of like core camera department, like they're not essential if you are, let's say, hiring just bare bones, who do we need kind of thing. I would say video assist, video coordinator, you could be okay without, because chances of you working with a second AC or somebody else in the camera department who knows how to set up monitors are very likely. You don't really need to hire a video coordinator and a video assist and a video assist too for just that. I've been on sets before where there's moments of panic because all of a sudden video goes down and everybody is like panicking because they're like, oh my God, I don't have video. And that's when the video coordinator or the video assist comes in handy, because they're like right there behind the monitor fixing cables or troubleshooting it and making sure that, all of the people that need to see things are seeing things. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the digital imaging technician. This is a very essential role. When I started out in film, I have done the indie stuff and the non-union stuff where they're like, hey, Garima, can you come out on a job, be a second AC and a DIT? And I've been like, yeah, you got it. And then I've realized, hey, this needs to be a separate thing and another person's job, because as a second, you cannot be on the floor and then managing video and handling footage all the time. Basically, let me backtrack for a second. The role of a DIT, they're the ones that are handling the image and offloading the footage, right? So they get the cards when you do a reload, it goes to the DIT puts it in his card reader, goes to the computer shows all of the footage, and if the DP has a certain look to the show or to the movie, which oftentimes they do, and that's something that they set in prep, then the DIT will do what's called live color grading on set, and right away they'll apply that look to the footage that we just shot and then show that to the DP, and the DP will be like, okay, tweak this, tweak that, or that looks great and fantastic, and they move on. So that's why the DIT is an essential part, and it needs to be a separate part. So when I was saying earlier about me saying yes and absolutely to those roles, very quickly I realized, no, I don't think, at least I can't do that. And I've seen it before with friends who have expressed the same kind of like concern that, yeah, it's not really ideal and it's just too much. It's too much to ask from one person to do both things, because one job as an AC requires you to be on set, and the DIT stuff is you're dealing with footage, and I would never want to rush footage. I would never want to rush or incorrectly transfer files or, save them in the wrong format, which is a common mistake, and like nobody wants to be a part of that. Think about the DIT as like the right-hand man for the DP when it comes to like the imaging side of how projects would often look. And I've seen DPs, some that really, 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 rely on their DITs while they're working, and they check in with their DIT quite a bit when they're on set, like how did that look, or can you give me a screen grab of what we just shot and I want to take a look at that. So it's really cool and it's super fascinating what a DIT does. So that is the breakdown of the camera department, starting from the top of the ladder of DP all the way down to trainee and video assist, and it's a whole ecosystem, and every single role matters. It's not just about the gear. It's not just about how you show up to work. It's about the balance of both of those things. It's about how you support your team. It's about your on-set etiquette. It's about knowing your gear as well, how you show up, every single day. Because every single day in this job is different, and that's kind of like the fun part about film. And not every day is going to be the same routine, and you're constantly going to be thinking about things and how to do them better, or how to change it up, or how to make it more faster, or how to tweak it so that it doesn't do that on the day. And I have these conversations more and more now with my friends in the camera department, where we're like always thinking about these little things that we can tweak and adjust to make our jobs easier, but also collectively as a team run smoother. Gears are always turning. I really like it that way. Genuinely, I like it, because I don't think I could be the type of person, if I'm on set bringing so much passionate energy, to just do one little thing, like put a sandbag on that C-stand and then sit down for the next 25 minutes and just wait until somebody calls me over the walkie. I want to be able to be on set and constantly be doing things or organizing things or helping the team, assisting them in any way that I can. And that's something that the camera department allows me to have the room to do. If you've ever been on a set, or you are going to be on a set where each of these roles are filled, like for example, if you find yourself on a set where everybody from the DP to the video assist is filled, you're going to realize how smoothly a camera department can actually run, because each individual, apart from the DP and the operator, like all of the assistants, can just focus on their role, and then they can provide, the best version of that role. That's why I talked about all of those things, because yes, you could technically hire a bare bones crew, because sometimes things happen and you're working with budgets, and finances are a thing in this industry as well. You just need, core people. And like I said, core teams could just be a DP, an operator, focus puller. You could just work with them, but know that it could be tricky, and oftentimes those people are taking a lot more workload than what's asked of them on paper. And, here's the thing that I really want to leave you guys with today. It's not just about knowing each role and what that role does. Yes, that's a part of it, but maybe like 40%. The rest of it, I feel like it's about understanding the flow between those roles. Camera only works well when every single person on that team that's hired shows up sharp, communicates well, is a team player, and supports the bigger picture. Really looks at themselves not just as that role. They look at it like, okay, I'm a part of this big machine that is helping ultimately the DP, right? Ultimately their vision and what they are working with the director on. So it's really important to understand that, and especially for the people, like I said, who sometimes will get hired on set, or when you start out, you're just the person that's doing the little tasks that feel quote unquote pointless or small. I was told to just clean camera carts because I joined during COVID and everything was about sanitization and cleaning. So on one show, I would just every 10 minutes give it a good clean, even though it was already clean and nobody touched it for like 3 hours. But you still had to do that because that was just something that you were required to do. I know in that moment, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? But then I switched my mentality and I was like, no, you know what? this is the new step protocol now, and I'm kind of helping with that, and I'm helping keeping things clean. And I personally don't mind keeping things clean. I think I'm someone who likes the organization aspect of film and of camera. That's why I'm probably a second. So that's something that I didn't take too seriously, but it was a different switch at first. And it didn't happen right away. Random tasks. You will get assigned them, but don't think that it's pointless, and don't think that it's not helping the team, because there's going to be somebody on that team who's going to look at you and they're going to be like, that person is genuinely doing a good job, or they're not, taking it in a weird way, and they're performing that task, and that's going to reflect in the long term. And yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to share that bit. So like I said, if you're somebody that's, figuring out, okay, what exactly is my role in the camera department? Where do I see myself thriving? If you're a producer who's looking to hire people, then I hope that this provided some good, basic, fundamental information for you. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you guys on the next one.